COMESA, the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, is Africa's largest regional economic bloc, yet it remains largely invisible to every citizen.
It covers almost 2/3 of the continent and represents over 640 million people. But the question is, how does it work?
I don't know if it's a functional body, whether it's operational. I don't know what kind of commodities they do control in and out of Kenya.
Here's what matters. COMESA is partly funded by member states. That means that it's in everyone's interest to understand how it operates.
But with regional initiatives losing faith, how can COMESA redeem its relevance?
I don't think you should lose hope in the regional blocs or regional initiatives. I think we've proven that these blocs have a major role to play.
True. COMESA has delivered significant achievements, yet few people actually connect with them.
That's exactly the core of our conversation today. How can COMESA drive business and growth in Africa?
And I am Mimi Mefo Newuh. Welcome to Under the Baobab.
And my name is George Okachi. On this show, we bring Africa's complex stories closer to you and make them personal.
So every Friday of the week, we sit down with policymakers, politicians, and African leaders to unpack the issues that matter. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel and join the conversation.
Remember, it's DW Africa. And today we're bringing and speaking to Teddy Yagambaram Soobramanien, CEO of the COMESA Business Council. He visited us in our studios in Berlin, Germany.
And you can see that today we are talking business. The COMESA Business Council is the official voice of the private sector across the COMESA region, that is the East and Southern Africa. It drives private sector growth by supporting businesses, advocating policies, and also fostering connections.
Yes, and that trickles down to their mission, which is to facilitate policy dialogue on integration and regional trade, and also ensuring business participation in the integration efforts. And of course, the key one is providing the market insights to business people who are operating within this region.
Ideally, George,
yes,
what I think and see is, after my research also on COMESA, is that it should be able to benefit the consumers.
Yes.
But opinions are actually differing because the impact that it creates on businesses and individuals are very minimal. The impacts are minimal.
And I couldn't agree more, Mimi, because we're talking about a region that it represents where people are still going hungry, Poverty has stricken most of these regions. Recent reports show that none of the COMESA regions are on track to achieve the Malabo declarations on food security targets by 2025. We are on 2025, and most of African countries which were part and signatories of the Malabo, declaration are yet to achieve this.
And talking about the Malabo declaration, it aims, amongst other things, to triple intra-African trade in agricultural products and fast-track the continent's free trade area.
Yes.
Now, Africa's vast arable land positions agriculture as a crucial business driver. So what is COMESA really doing to advance these objectives, George?
This is not a question appropriate for me, and that's why I asked Teddy about the concrete step the Council is doing to take and tackle economic and agricultural issues affecting the region.
Yes, we might have missed some target, but right now, with all the initiatives that we have at the COMESA level in terms of trade facilitation, in terms of digitalization, in terms of technology and innovation, we aim to remove some of these countries out of poverty. Some countries are doing quite well also at the level of COMESA. I have in mind Kenya, Egypt, Mauritius, and a few others. They are doing quite well in terms of economic growth and development. We are also very much involved in everything having to do with digitalization. So we initiated, through our working group on innovation and technology, a host of initiatives, for example, artificial intelligence, digitalization, and even satellite technologies, how policies in these areas can help COMESA countries and African countries move out of the poverty hold in which they are.
So Teddy shares promising, assertions, but awareness of COMESA's work remains limited. We can agree on that, Mimi.
Right.
And remember, this regional trade bloc represents over 640 million people, and that we're talking about a GDP nearing $1 trillion.
Which is quite a lot.
Yes.
And if I'm sure that some people watching us from home would tell us that if a poll was to be conducted on social media to
Yes.
find out how much knowledge they have of COMESA, many people will say, I'm not aware.
I'm not aware,
People
yeah.
have not been hearing about it a lot. So the question is the problem at the level of awareness, or is it the capacity of COMESA itself?
That's a very good question, and I mean it troubles someone like me because if the awareness is not there because of many reasons that COMESA can cite, then the question is, what is the citizenry doing? Because you see, we are funding this COMESA and other regional bodies. Like COMESA, for example, it gets funding from member states to a tune of $1.5 million. So it should trouble you. What are they doing?
Did you discuss that with the CEO?
Yes, I discussed about that. And of course, it was geared towards the confidence level. People are losing confidence. What does COMESA do? And how does it work?
I don't think you should lose hope in the regional blocs or regional initiatives. I think we've proven that these blocs have a major role to play in alleviating poverty in Africa, in the various regions that these respective blocs cover. While we defend, I won't say we protect the business community, we defend the interest of the business community. And the business community in the COMESA region, they serve the people of the COMESA region. So I don't think it's proper to have this disconnect between the business community and consumers. We are part and parcel of the same community. Whoever is a consumer today can be in the business tomorrow. So I don't think it's proper to have this kind of distinction. We try to reduce the cost of doing business, the cost of trading in the region, so that trade can expand. But obviously, at the end of the day, who will benefit from that when we reduce the cost of trading for the business community? This will be passed on to the consumers. When we do initiative, for example, on digitalization to reduce the cost of trading, this will have a trickle-down effect to the consumers at the end of the day in terms of prices. If we combat illicit trade, for example, then who will benefit at the end of the day is consumers who would have better products, better quality products, and also a diversity of products on the market. So there are different ways of looking at the same thing. So I think at the end of the day, we are serving, whether it's businesses, whether it's consumers association or other people, we are at the end of the day serving the people of COMESA for the benefit of people in the region.
Before we hear from the citizens in Africa.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm just thinking about him saying it alleviates poverty.
Yes.
And looking at the level of poverty in some parts of Africa today, especially in East and Southern Africa, where we have COMESA, where they should be helping citizens get jobs or job opportunities, business owners, operate, without the difficulties that they are facing every day.
Yes.
Do you think that COMESA has been able to achieve that goal of really alleviating poverty?
Clearly, looking at numbers and how things are in these different regions, you would say no, they've not achieved their mandate. And Teddy is trying to defend a point that it's a work in progress. Integration and regional integration is a work in progress. And sometimes you almost feel like COMESA runs away from accountability because they say, actually, our role is just for policy intervention. We don't make the decisions. The governments of these respective countries make the decisions.
But money is voted and given to them to act on that.
To help facilitate.
Yes. But then we cannot see a lot of impact because people don't even know that COMESA exists. Business people don't even know that an organization like COMESA exists. We earlier talked about if there was a poll online asking people, how much do you know about COMESA? How much change can COMESA bring to you as an ordinary business person in East and Southern Africa? The response will be like, I don't know what it is all about. Do you think it's intentional?
They would ask you, what is COMESA in the first place?
Yes. Do you think it's on purpose, just to not create that awareness and the funds stay in their pockets?
That is a good question that I did ask at Teddy as well. But he says that they are doing everything within their capacity to help, propagate this. And he's saying they've devised new communication strategies to ensure that the citizenry are made aware about what COMESA is doing. But I mean, it's not a problem of COMESA alone. We have regional blocs within Africa that are there to help facilitate growth of business and, development. But the reality is different from how people perceive them.
Let us hear what Africans themselves think. Have you heard about COMESA? What about Africans too in these regions, George? Because we spoke to them.
Yes. For that matter, our correspondents Andrew Wasike in Nairobi and Chimwemwe Padatha in Malawi spoke to the citizens to capture their views on what they think about COMESA.
First time I heard about COMESA was way back when I was in high school. And we were being taught about trade work and the way it's an economic bloc for East and Southern states. I don't know if it's a functional body, whether it's operational. I don't know what kind of commodities they do control in and out of Kenya. Can we get COMESA people communicating better, giving citizens information in terms of some of their programs they are doing, some of their process they're doing, I don't know, so that people can know and people can know, how to engage with the body better.
Another thing that they need to impact on is educating the local citizens of its impact and how they can also benefit through this process.
When they're dealing with trade items, they maybe should look at the tax levied on each of the export goods that they bring, and also for the importing goods, they should actually make it clear when our imports are being brought out there and when the exports are being brought into the country, what are we benefiting from it, and if maybe the tax can be a little bit lower, the subsidies of goods that are being brought into the country.
Personally, as a young entrepreneur in the climate smart agriculture and working in recycling, COMESA has made me think regionally to be able to connect with other entrepreneurs from other countries. But on the other hand, the reality of cross-border processes is still challenging, mostly for us as young entrepreneurs, and mainly because of three main things. Number one, custom barriers, transportation costs, and of course, barrier to access to information, which I believe is a big challenge when it comes to us as young entrepreneurs. And I believe that's what COMESA can work out.
COMESA is good and is supposed to continue because it helps the countries which are down so that they can pull up with their productivities. In fact, through COMESA, we have different commodities which come from the other countries which we are not producing.
What exactly are the things that COMESA is doing concretely?
Yeah, I mean, they have a number of intervention within this regional, the countries that they represent. Well, remember, we're talking about East and Southern Africa. And the key of their mission is to facilitate policy dialogue, which is geared towards enhancing integration. The assumption is that these regions should be able to trade their commodities at ease. There are a lot of red tapes when it comes to, trading. And that's why you need a body like COMESA to help facilitate that free flow of goods and services within these particular regions.
Tanzania actually banned foreigners from operating in over 15 sectors of small and medium-sized businesses, including retail, mobile money services, mining, and even the media outlets.
Yeah.
And here is where entities like COMESA are also needed to come and resolve disputes like this, so that people can be able to say that, oh, there's actually an organization, a bloc that is existing, solving some of this problem. So how, George, is the council addressing these political and economic barriers to build a unified regional market that can benefit the people?
That is a very fascinating question. And in the case of Tanzania, for example, I don't think COMESA's intervention was, popularized in terms of looking at the resolution. We saw ministers, or rather the ministries of these two countries, saying that we've spoken about it and we've resolved to go forward in this particular way, meaning that COMESA could be like a toothless dog, so to speak. Maybe they are doing something, but nobody knows if they are part of, solving the problem.
What about Teddy himself? He's the CEO. What did he say?
That is what I exactly asked him to tell us.
As the level of COMESA Business Council, our members, the private sector, can approach the COMESA Business Council to raise issues that they are facing when they try to trade regionally. We work closely with COMESA Secretariat and member states to make sure that trade can be conducted as seamless as possible. But that being said, there is always situations from various policy reasons that countries impose certain barriers, and it is our role as the Business Council to make sure that we approach these members, understand the motive, and also advocate for the private sector. What are the difficulties some of these barriers will create?
Yeah. So you'd say your role is just restricted to advocacy, and there is no any maybe policy intervention in terms of curing protectionism, because we understand that is a major and a sticking issue.
No, our role is of course advocacy, because we advocate for the private sector and the business community, but we also try to influence policy decisions. One of the problems that we realize the region is facing is, for example, illicit trade, which is affecting the business community in the COMESA region. And COMESA Business Council, we are working very hard.
Teddy, you will allow me to interrupt. Allow me to interrupt, just for the benefit of our viewers. What do you mean by illicit trade? Maybe give context in that.
Yeah, by illicit trade, we mean, there is a lot of products which are copied, like brands which are copied. So these actually the products are floated on the market, and they kill obviously genuine businesses, people who try to innovate to create new products or brings new product to the market. This tend to affect the business spirit.
And sticking to that thought, the COMESA Competition Commission is intensifying enforcement against cartels and revising competition laws to benefit consumer welfare. How do these regulatory reforms translate into everyday relief for African business owners and consumers?
Well, obviously, we, as COMESA Business Council, we work hand in hand with our other COMESA institution, including the COMESA Competition Commission. And while we try to regulate the market, there is also the consumer dimension, and we try to reach a balance, obviously, between promoting business interests, but while at the same time taking into account consumers' interests as well, in terms of prices, in terms of diversity of products that they have in the market. At the end of the day, the goal of COMESA is to promote trade in the region in as fair as possible, but also for the benefit of the business community and the population at large. So we try to strike the right balance for that.
For someone watching in your locality in Kenya, for instance, where do you come from in Kenya?
I grew up in the capital city, that is Nairobi.
Nairobi or even Mombasa in Kenya, listening to the CEO that we had the opportunity to speak to, I would want to understand how, if I am either a business owner or a business owner to be, how COMESA can benefit me.
Yeah, and you see, this is the thing, Mimi, because we look at business operations so locally. And nobody thinks of expansion. Nobody thinks of like this product. If maybe there is high competition within Nairobi, I could actually transport them to Busia, which is the border of Kenya and Uganda, and where I grew up as well, and trade there as well. Nobody thinks about taking your goods, like your agricultural value-added products, to Rwanda, for example. And that is the pain, that COMESA should be enhancing this and facilitating
and also
this.
That limitation in our minds as business people would not make us know about the benefits of COMESA as well. Because if we think of expanding our businesses, like you said, to neighboring countries, to other people elsewhere in the region, we should be able to know about COMESA, because we will automatically or eventually benefit from COMESA.
Definitely.
I really enjoyed that conversation between you and Teddy, but I saw how tense it was. And it's always a tradition here under the Baobab that when the atmosphere is tense, we have to lighten the mood a little bit.
Of course, we have to lighten the mood, and we do that by getting to know our guests from the personal side. And here is the rapid fire segment.
How does your morning begin? Is it tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Mountains or beach?
I come from Mauritius originally, but I live for quite a long time in Switzerland. I will say both. I like both, the beach and the mountains as well.
Books or movies? Which is your favorite?
Books.
City life or countryside?
Countryside, definitely.
Sneakers or formal shoes?
Depends on the occasion. I am more comfortable with sneakers, obviously, but for some formal meetings,
Digital meetings or face-to-face?
Face-to-face, definitely.
Jazz or Afrobeat?
Afrobeat.
Classic suits or casual wear?
Again, it depends on the situation. I would say I'm more comfortable with casual, obviously, but sometimes you have to be formal as well.
Podcast or music while working?
Music.
And finally, travel by plane or train?
I am a bit of an explorer, so I would say I do like travel by train because it allows you to explore the country and you see the sceneries.
That was interesting.
Yeah, so very well. When we talk about intra-Africa trade, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, that is the AfCFTA, is key. It promises to empower trade and transform the continent. And the question is, how realistic is this initiative?
Yes, so we're talking about AfCFTA there. So since it was launched, I think 6 years ago, AfCFTA has actually marked a critical shift towards continental economic integration by connecting 1.3 billion people across 55 countries in the continent. So you know that AfCFTA is one of the big, like we are talking about COMESA today, but AfCFTA covers the entire continent. So it represents the world's largest free trade area by membership and aims to boost Africa's GDP by $141 billion. Yes, to be precise, $141 billion, and increase intra-African trade by 45% by 2045. Those are a lot of numbers, but the ambitions are also very big.
Yeah, and I look at it, Mimi. I mean, these are progressive approaches, and it's more of a dream, you know, that Africa desires to achieve. And if it is, achieved, then these numbers can become reality. Because now, when you're just, mentioning them, someone may feel like, those are numbers for the business and traders within this particular organization. So simply put it, the success will ensure that the continent is insulated from external, factors like, Trump's tariffs, which affected most regions.
So that they can be able to bounce back and not just rely on some of the benefits. Yes, exactly.
The US, for example.
Yeah, but talking about AfCFTA, actually, George, it was created 6 years ago to facilitate trade in the entire continent. But when you look at inter-country trade, Am I correct?
Yeah.
You know, you are the business guru
No,
here.
I'm not a business guru. Yeah.
But
just like
intercountry,
business.
yes, intercountry trade is still it's still to be a reality, because it's very difficult for someone to just move from Cameroon to Nigeria or Nigeria to Ghana and just trade freely. Why is this still a big problem?
The limiting factors. You see, it's one thing to promote inter-Africa trade, or rather inter-countries trade, but it's another thing by ensuring that, you know, the travel of people from one country to one region to the other is made seamless. We still need visas to come to Cameroon.
Right.
We still need visas to go
That's
to
where
Nigeria.
regulations needs to come in.
And this is where regulation needs to come in. It's not like just sell a big dream that this, you know, bloc will help trade in this particular way, but there are a lot of red tapes before we achieve that.
It means that we still have a long way to go to get there. But how is COMESA actually aligning with AfCFTA?
That is a question that I put to Teddy.
Now is the time for Africa to look inward. What Africa can do itself. All the countries in African countries, I think, should join forces to make sure that they can increase the trade within the African continent. I think less and less probably reliance on external market where you have external shock. I'll give you a figure. The level of intra-Africa trade, for example, is 15% today. It's one of the lowest among all regions in the world. So there is enormous potential there for Africa to increase the trade among itself, among the countries in Africa. And I think that's something we are advocating. We need to increase that level of intra-Africa trade so that we are isolated from external shocks. And I strongly believe that the solution to African problems lies within African itself. At the end of the day, consumers will benefit from that if we are able to increase the trade among ourselves. You know, I don't see why. I don't see why it is impossible for somebody from Kenya, from Malawi, to start consuming products coming from other West African countries, for example. That's our objective, I think, that we should aim at, to increase the level of intra-Africa trade.
Yeah, and in achieving that objective, there is a significant push within COMESA to boost inter-African trade, as you've rightfully mentioned, especially in agriculture. What are the biggest non-tariff barriers still faced, and how are you encouraging member states to accelerate the adaptation of the AfCFTA principles to benefit the common people?
At the level of COMESA, we have established a non-tariff barriers notification mechanism, which allow us to address the barriers that the businesses or the community faces, so that we can address it at the level of government, try to bring down these barriers, non-tariff barriers that we face. But your question is also about the AfCFTA. We have the mechanism. We also have there also mechanism to address non-tariff barriers, and it is progressing well. Now I think is a time that we have the agreement on AfCFTA, which is in place. Quite the majority of countries have already ratified it, so the protocols are there. And I think they also have new protocols, for example, on digital trade, women empowerment, and so on. All these are coming into place now. And at the end of the day, when we create a bigger market of, 1.5 billion people and more, that market will allow for economies of scale on the African continent whenever you're trading or whenever you're producing. And whenever you have these economies of scale, then obviously prices will go down, and obviously consumers at the end will benefit from lower prices, greater diversity of products, quality and standards. So I am very positive about the AfCFTA, and I think that's a great opportunity for Africa to integrate itself, but also to be part of the global community, so that we can all contribute towards poverty eradication.
So today, George, we have been able to explore how COMESA can enhance trade and economic growth in Africa. We also reflected on how its role and other regional initiatives are promoting intra-African trade.
Yes. And Understanding these dynamics is key to tapping into opportunities available in Africa's economic future. You need to understand what is available for you to take as an opportunity in Rwanda, Uganda, Cameroon, Chad.
And if you want to be part of conversations like this, business topics, also politics, Under the Baobab, please follow us on our different social media platforms. Here on YouTube, please subscribe. And where can people watch or listen to Under the Baobab?
They can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course on our DW YouTube channel, that is DW Africa. Thank you for listening and watching. My name is George Okachi.
My name is Mimi Mefo.